Greetings, this is Coach Fleischer, and for today's session we'll be talking about flexion and extension of single joint movements, as well as the three main planes of the body that help us describe human movement. To start off today though, I want to hit one slide that kind of has a context of a number of different things we've gone over so far, and some things we'll go over today. We talked about the chicken breast, the kind of white material is more tendinous, like a chicken tender, and the tendon attaches from bone to muscle. So when you evaluate this, you look at it and you go, okay, winner, chicken dinner, chicken tenders, it's a tendon. Okay, great. It worked for one of my other classes, it might work for you. I'll help get you through grad school. But muscles make the movement happen. Tendons and ligaments, whether it's bone to muscle or bone to bone, like the anterior cruciate ligament we talked about in last session, are connective tissue. Bones are the levers, and the central nervous system is the central wiring, if you will, the hard wiring for the body, whether it's taking signals up or sending contractile signals back down. Today I'll be talking about these three here, frontal, sagittal, transverse, and then this was a four-step process, as many times shown as a three-step process, the general adaptation syndrome. I like to include homeostasis because when you work with a client or an athlete, you're taking them from an essentially rested position and applying a training stimulus to them. So I always like to include this in that process as a coach. So for today, concentric, eccentric, and isometric contractions, as well as three planes. Now with flexion and extension, if you look at this guy here, getting ready to do some bicep curls, which he hasn't done them in probably 2 months, you look at this, and you go, okay, it's an asymmetrical resistance, right? So you have a dumbbell in one hand and a cable in the other. But the thing is, as this person is doing their exercise, it's still flexion, extension, flexion, extension. So the actual movement itself, when we talk flexion, extension, yes, of course, you're flexing your bicep to make that happen. But the flexion extension that we're talking about is the movement of the elbow joint. So in this case, the participant, let me back this up here for you, take it all the way back. They're flexing the elbow joint, extending the elbow joint, flexing the elbow joint, extending the elbow joint. Really easy to see in a bicep curl or a tricep extension, or for example, a leg curl or leg extension, because it's single joint. Let's see if I can get this to forward to the next. So next example is quirky because it's showing a different video. Tricep extension. Here we go. And you might have some glitchy stuff on this because it'll actually bump over to the next video when it finishes the previous one. But just realize you have bicep curls as flexion extension, whether it's a bar, a band, a cable crossover, or a dumbbell. So in this case, this would be tricep extension. So we notice we have this underlined here for extension versus flexion. And in this case, the participant is lying on their back and they're doing tricep extension where they, under resistance, are extending the elbow, extension, flexion, extension, flexion. So in this case, the flexion and extension are different because of where the resistance is being offered. In the previous example, the resistance was out in front and slightly down below. So you had flexion and extension were working the biceps. In this case, flexion and extension, still moving the elbow the same way, flexion, extension, but the resistance is behind the person and lower. It's working the back of the arm. So location, right? It's a lot like real estate. And that matters in working out. Where the resistance comes from matters. And specific to a cable crossover in this example, all you have is a stack of weights that are being pulled straight down to the floor, and that cable is redirecting the resistance over pulleys to the last pulley to the end user through a handle. So really, this weight stack is ending up right here in these handles for the user. And it was the same thing with the bicep curl. So for this, just keep in mind, elbow extension, tricep extension is working the back of the arm as opposed to bicep curls where it's still elbow Flexion extension, it's just where the resistance is coming from makes a difference. Let's see if I can get to the next screen without this firing up on me. There we go. So the three main planes of the body, right? You have frontal, sagittal, transverse. Super easy to remember these as soon as you get the mnemonic down. With frontal, it divides the body into front and back, right? Sagittal, it divides the body into right and left sides. With transverse, it divides the body into top and bottom. So look at this in terms of divides the body into front and back, frontal, front and back, sagittal, right and left sides, SS, transverse, top and bottom, T and T. Real easy way to remember it. And visually, if you look at this, frontal goes down through the ears, through the shoulders, through the knees and the ankles on the side of the body. And if you look at sagittal, nose to belly button. And then transverse, think of like a belt around the body. That's all you need to know regarding those planes of movement. Now go on and get yourself a good workout.